Meet Sunny Sprout, a creature of pure active joy, visibly glowing with a bright, undeniable purpose as it moves through the world. But even a highly active presence can stumble into a place that feels deeply, unnaturally still. Sunny recently followed a path out of the vibrant forest and found itself standing at the edge of the Garden of Silent Flowers. To the eye, the garden was breathtaking. Every possible color and shape of petal was on display. Yet there was a heavy sensory disconnect. The stems didn't sway in the wind, and the air was completely devoid of any fragrance. Look closer, and the biological red flags become obvious. A thriving garden should be chaotic with movement, but here there were 0 bees and not a single butterfly in sight. It leaves us with a strange paradox. How can an environment literally overflowing with aesthetic beauty exist in a state of complete, forgotten isolation? The answer starts with a single bright pink flower. Structurally, it looks perfect, but completely lacks the luminous aura native to the forest's flora. Sunny leaned in and gently asked if it was okay. To its surprise, a very quiet voice answered back. These plants were entirely capable of communicating. They had simply stopped trying. The flower explained that their current state wasn't normal. They used to bloom brilliantly. They projected their light and danced with the wind, performing all their natural biological functions at absolute peak capacity. But over time, the environment around them grew quiet. Days turned into weeks without a single visitor. The prolonged absence of any external observation or acknowledgement began to take a toll. The flowers chose this stasis as a deliberate psychological withdrawal. They decided that the high energy cost of blooming yielded no return if the world remained indifferent. To understand how a whole ecosystem shuts down like this, we need to look at it through the eyes of the garden's resident systems expert, a slow-moving, deeply observant turtle. This diagram maps the garden's decline as a behavioral loop. First, the flowers experienced a severe lack of attention. That perceived neglect triggered them to actively suppress their bloom to conserve energy. But that suppression created a secondary problem. Because they went dark, they ceased attracting the exact external attention they required to survive. What starts as an isolated defense mechanism rapidly spirals into a systemic issue. Inaction breeds neglect, locking the entire environment in a deadlocked state. You cannot break a closed feedback loop from the inside. Escaping this kind of psychological deadlock requires a pattern interrupt, an external force that enters the system and refuses to play by its rigid rules. Sunny provided exactly that interrupt. Instead of making a grand, sweeping gesture to the entire field, the little sprout took a highly methodical approach, moving to acknowledge one single organism at a time. The validation wasn't generic praise either. Sunny highlighted concrete, undeniable facts, pointing out the physical softness of their petals and the warmth of their colors. The biological response to highly specific validation is immediate. The petals give a slight physical shiver, followed by the faint return of an inner glow. Sunny simply repeated this exact localized process. Moving step by step, stem by step, it applied the same focused attention across the broader garden. Highly specific recognition breaks the internal logic of the loop. By validating inherent traits, Sunny reverses apathy, restarting the system's growth one organism at a time. As the broken loop collapses, the garden transforms. Petals open wide, pigments deepen into rich, saturated tones, and ambient light floods back into the space. The sensory baseline is completely restored. The air fills with the active hum of returning bees, and butterflies flock to an environment swaying with life. Amidst the restored chaos, one of the newly awakened flowers posed a profound question. Did they actually need someone else to see them in order to exist like this? There is a crucial difference between a catalyst and a fuel source. Sunny's attention was merely the initial spark required to reignite a stalled system. It was never meant to be the ongoing energy source that sustains it. A single moment of genuine recognition acts as a temporary mirror. It interrupts the cycle of invisibility long enough to remind you that your inner light was always there, waiting to be seen.